This is Cindy Cisneros, and this is the Create Will Minute Cast. And I'm not going to give this an episode because today is a little bit of a celebration. Today is 7 years since I started the business. And so I felt like being a little reflective on the journey so far because in such a relatively short period of time, so many things have happened. And so I was reflecting on that. And I know that a lot of creative people are on similar paths of starting their own businesses. And so I thought I'd share a little bit of the journey for anyone who is interested and or having similar experiences. So that's what this episode is about. And then if it resonates with you, or if you are a creative person trying to start your own business and you want to talk more about that, or if you want to work together as you work to pave your own way in the creative world as an entrepreneur, I would love to talk to you more. So this is the rarely delved into, I don't usually self-disclose, but personal stuff. So just to give you some context, I'm an artist. I went to art school, but I also double majored in psychology. And immediately after school, some time ago now, I decided to pursue a master's in counseling and go into clinical work. And so I spent time working in clinics and hospitals and under various umbrellas and corporations, just paving my career with mental health and clinical work. And I got to the point where I was pregnant with my second child, and you spend enough time, I think, in any career where you've been behind the scenes in it enough and in the trenches with it enough that you lose some of the sparkly shiny and you lose some of the new perspective that you go into it with because you've seen some of the innards of it. And I was in that place too. And I was a little bit disillusioned and I was very overworked because many times in many careers, when you are new in them, you are doing some of the hardest stuff as a beginner in the career. And that's no exception in the world of mental health. And so I already had coming up on a 3-year-old. He was 2 at the time, and I was expecting the following summer. I had just found out another baby, and so all of these things came together for me, and I thought to myself, is this the time where I prepared to start my own business? Now, at the time, I was working for a mental health corporation, and it was one of my least favorite jobs that I had ever had because it felt very unfulfilling. Now, there's no need to go into more detail about it than that because I'm not here to slander anything. But that's just how I felt about it at the time. But it was allowing me some work at home stuff before work at home became mainstream. This was before the pandemic. This was fall 2015. And so this ended up working well for me because for a lot of this pregnancy, I ended up being on bed rest. But also that fall, before any of this, I was going to different hospitals to do some of the work for this company. And then I was doing reporting and stuff like this and phone calls from my home. And I decided, okay, I'm going to file for the LLC. And I remember doodling in the pages of a margin of a notebook my logo and various names for my business and thinking about all of the work I had done in mental health and my dedication to creative people and my research on the creative personality and my thesis and just everything that I believed in on the health and wellness of creative people. And my business idea was born, and I filed for the articles of incorporation, and the day that I filed is the day of the birthday of Creatively LLC, which is October 11th, and that was 2005. And so the good thing about being in a corporation at that time is I was in a corporation with a lot of other mental health professionals, and I wasn't the only one who had either started or had machinations of starting their own career. So I had some wonderful other professionals to ask business questions to. And so if you are starting a business or thinking about starting a business, my number one piece of advice is ask others who have done the same or are in the field thinking about doing the same, because that was my number one most useful resource, was talking to other people who had done it. Everything from filing the LLC to getting a federal tax ID to can I mail this in, to do I need to go downtown for this or that, to what accountant do you use, and all of the ins and outs of business, because nowhere in my description did I say I'd been to business school. Asking people that you trust who have done this in your cohort, right? So I thank sincerely, those mental health professionals whose shoulders I tapped and who gave me nudge and support in the beginning. And if you have passed that stage and you're a professional, I strongly encourage you to pay that forward. And if anybody asks you questions, do your utmost to help them. And I also want to encourage you, if you're starting in a business and you're shoulder tapping and you're getting the brush off, please know that there are two kinds of professionals. There are professionals who are secure enough in what they're doing to help others succeed. And there are professionals who are not secure enough in what they're doing and are going to brush you off and see you as competition. So if you get brushed off, that's okay. That's not the kind of help that you need or are looking for anyway. You're looking for peers who are secure in what they're doing and want to help you, and there are plenty of those, so keep looking. So that's my beginning advice. So I spent a lot of the fall into the winter getting a lot of the business end of things up and running. I could spend a lot of time talking about the ins and outs of what that is and what was difficult and what went well, but I'll save that for another time. And then transitioning out of corporate America and into private practice, not the least of which was securing a space. And there's a really cool story about how that happened. I, interviewed and looked around for a lot of different spaces, and I'm a firm believer of try lots of things and let the things that makes sense speak to you. And if it doesn't make sense yet, keep looking. So a quick little blurb of how that happened to me is at this same time, or actually right before, because I had to stop when I found out I was pregnant, I had been taking Krav Maga classes, and there was a person who was similar in just, I guess, posture and weight and size as me that I was paired up with a lot. And so we got to talking, and this person was also a social worker, and come to find out, this person also was soon to have or recently had acquired a new office space in their group practice and was looking to sublet it to someone who was starting out. And so that was where I found I found so much support subletting that space with that group, and that was kind of the final push I really needed to get up and running. And so I have a special place in my heart for that. Energy was just exactly what I needed. And things started to fall into place for me. And so because I had worked in hospitals and because I had worked in clinics and I'd worked in Maryland in mental health for some time at this point, I had a lot of contacts and connections to draw upon. And it is very scary when you leave a secure paycheck and then you go and hang up your own shingle. And I remember I was on a little getaway with my mom and my sisters when my first referrals came in. And the first week I paid my lease, or the week that I wrote the lease for my check, I had enough clients scheduled on my calendar so that I've always been able to maintain, knock on wood, my business in the green. So I have always been able to, at minimum, keep the lights on and make ends meet. And that has just been a confirmation to me that my skills and what I bring to the table are needed, and the space for what I'm doing in the community is needed, and to just keep plowing ahead. And so over the next couple of years, my business grew, and I moved to a different space, and I worked with different people. And then I think what is very normal when you begin a business and you're very excited and you throw so much into it, happens to me. I outgrew my initial plans. I had too many clients for what I had allotted time for. I started to burn out. I began to overwhelm myself, and I almost started to run my initial business into the ground. And so if you are a business person who has outgrown potentially your original business model, or finds yourself falling out of love with what you initially set out to do, I encourage you to also take a pause, which is what I did. And this was around the time of the pandemic. So I had been doing things virtually and kind of combined virtually and in person. So it was fairly seamless for me to go into transition and to see clients virtually through the pandemic. But what happened was I had so many clients, and so many more came on board because of the difficult nature of what everyone was going through, that my mental health, my physical health, my health in general started to go on decline, because I could not continue to see the number of clients that I had. And I had the hard choice now of what is your brave next step so that you can continue to provide good care for yourself, for your family, for your clients, and keep doing this important work that you're doing. And this pivot took place 2020, 2021, around that time. And that's when I had to reinvent my business model yet again to decide what can I change so that I can continue to show up in the right way for my clients and continue to make these services available. And in a lot of ways, that was a harder change than starting out. And that's when I changed to providing concierge services, to keeping a limited number of clients at a time, to being more accessible to those clients, to only seeing a number of clients that I could sustain good care for at the right amount of time, to doing an internal check with myself of what those services would cost me and turning that into what those services financially would cost versus how medicine is set up with insurances and all of this, just doing a big inventory of what that new model looked like and adopting that into my practice. But as I have adopted that into my practice, watching the level of care I've been able to offer to the community and the impact that that's been able to have, seeing clients get better in a much shorter period of time, I'm able to serve a substantial number of clients, but clients are able to be in care for shorter periods of time. And I'm excited about this new type that I've been offering for about a year and a half now of care, that while it was fully virtual, now we're back to hybrid. And I think a lot of business people in light of the pandemic are facing this pivot in how do I meet new demands? How do I meet them in a healthy way for my clients? How do I meet them in a healthy way for myself? I feel like almost every industry is on that pivot, and it's a brave new world for a lot of us. So if that's where you are in your business, I would love to hear from you, talk to you, just even if it's just in a supportive nature, professional to professional. But if you're also trying to problem solve that pivot, I'm here for you in a business capacity as a coach or in an emotional capacity as a counselor. So 7 years in, and it's been quite a journey. I hope to continue this journey because it's something I truly am passionate about and I truly love. And I'm here to support as many people as I can for as long as I can. I hope that was helpful to any of you, and thank you for letting me share with you today. Happy birthday, Creatively LLC, for many more years to come. Bye, guys.